Hi, my lovely people. Section 107 fair use allows us to talk about it, and that's what we're here to do. Please do not go out of your way to dislike anybody we talk about in this video. It is for entertainment and reaction purposes only. It's my opinion and my opinion only. Now, typically, we don't do videos like this over here and talk about it, but we're going to change some things up because they call it the mommy sector. So we're going to talk about these two Michigan mothers that have done the worst type of neglect that has ever been seen around these parts and are making national news, worldwide news, and everything else. So we're going to talk about it. If you guys do not know who these two ladies is, there is one that was from Detroit, Michigan, whose children froze to death. 2 out of her 4 children froze to death in a van living at a casino. And then on the other side, we have a young lady, okay, whose children were abandoned for over 4 years living in filth, squalor, and dander. Oh my gosh. You guys, when I tell you it was a mess, let's talk about it. Okay, so let's start with these two parents, or lack thereof. The mother is claiming that she was homeless after being kicked out of a motel, hotel, whatever she was staying in that she could no longer afford. During this time in Detroit, over in the Midwest, we were going through below freezing windshields. I mean, they were reaching -12, -14, some as far as -20. She decides that they're going to live in this parking garage. They park, they're there sleeping at night with her 4 children. All of a sudden, she runs out of gas, she says, and is unable to keep the heat on in the car. Well, she claims to have woke up and noticed that her 9-year-old was in distress. When she says that she woke up and noticed he was in distress, that she started doing CPR, called a friend drove to where they were, picked them up, and took them all to the hospital. Somehow, when she gets to the hospital, not only is her 9-year-old in bad condition, but her 2-year-old as well. Shortly after, they're both pronounced dead, and we're all like, what the heck? She gets on TV, she's whining, she's crying. She's trying to say that the city of Detroit failed her. She's claiming that she's called all these shelters. She's claiming that she's done the best that she could do. And I'm going to tell you, I don't believe that malarkey. Number one, if you wake up and your children are in distress, you are giving your 9-year-old CPR. You decide to call a friend to take him to the hospital. If you can call a friend to take someone to the hospital, why can't that friend allow you and your children to stay in your home and be warm while it was below minus temperatures? Also, if your child is to the point where you're doing CPR on them, why are you not dialing 911 to get an ambulance to come over there and help you? Also, a lot of people were like, hey, if you're doing all of this to your 9-year-old, you didn't check on the rest of them. Your 2-year-old or the rest of your children that were awake and were assisting you, you didn't realize that your 2-year-old was not getting up, moving around, or saying one word. And then when you arrived to the hospital, they're both in the worst condition of their life. You didn't notice that your other 2-year-old was in distress as you guys were loading all the other children into the car and moving them to the hospital. It made absolutely no sense. Also, since all this has come out, right, and the children have been laid to rest, there were people out here, where's the dad? What is the dad doing? Well, he came out and he was a big old load of baloney. He claimed she called him and wanted him to get the children. He didn't understand why he couldn't get to them, that they live far away. He's claiming that, hey, but my family lives close. She could have called my family. She could have put them over there. She could have stayed over there. And it's just a lot of questions, right? Let's just say this. Once this hit the news, all of a sudden, she's got family members sitting next to her, crying with her. She's got people that supposedly she had nowhere to stay and could not go to, all up in the mix. Since the children have been laid to rest, now we're seeing that the mother is out here partying. She's out here dancing on Facebook Live. She's acted as though, nothing has taken place. Now, I do understand one thing. Grief can come out in all different ways. But this is not grief when you're partying and you're having fun after you laid your children to rest. You're now partying because the city has allowed her to get on housing assistance. First, they put her in a shelter. Now she's on housing assistance, and she's going to receive free rent until she can get on her feet and a place to stay. Also, when all this took place, the other children were placed with family members so that she could be placed in a shelter. Well, where are all the family members at when you're trying to find somewhere to stay? Like you said, that you were out here and you were supposedly calling every shelter, when the city of Detroit confirmed that she only called one shelter, which was back in November of 2024. Also, they reveal, which everyone should know, that during below freezing temperatures, there are churches, there are warming centers, there are places that are open. She chose to have her children out in the vehicle instead of putting in work or going somewhere else. Now, once again, who failed these children? We know the parents did, right? We also know that the school system did, because if your children are going to school and showing up in distress, showing that they are homeless, showing that they need help, they can't possibly be showing up clean or fed. What happened with that? And if they weren't showing up, what happened to them reporting her? Also, what about the casino, who is under 24-hour surveillance? And this is the same woman who's been living out of their parking garage. No one's seen it. No one knew what was going on. People aren't passing. Like, somebody make it make sense. It does not. These poor children suffered at the hands of both parents, the father being a father who was less than more than caring or willing to do anything for his children, and a mother who pretty much sacrificed two children to get where she needs to be in life, which is having everything free and handed to her. Now, y'all, I know it's triggering and I know it's sickening, but this right here, we had to talk about. She, to me, is the lowest of the low. She did not try anything. And her family that's sitting next to her, the family that's sitting at the funeral, shame on y'all, because even if she didn't call y'all for help, y'all should have wanted to know where your grandchildren were, your nieces and nephews were, your sister, your brother, or your daughter. You should have wanted to know. But then again, her mother was sitting right there in the car with her when all of this was going down. So where was everybody else? Oh, y'all, I don't know what else to say about these two, but how sad and how disgusting. So now it's time to switch gears. We're going to talk about a Pontiac, Michigan mother who left her children abandoned, they believe, to up to 4 years. When they retrieved the children, the ages were 15, 13, and 12. Okay, so they were living in a condition that was not even fit for some rodents to live in. She supposedly did not pay rent ever since October of 2024, and the landlord decided finally, after notices and no, compliance or anything else, to go over and check on the situation. And he found the children there, and the children were living in the worst conditions anyone has ever seen. According to reports, there were feces all over the wall in almost every corridor of the house. There was numerous piles of trash, debris, and everything else. The children's toenails were so long they were almost unable to walk. The children's hair were matted. They were malnutrition, as well as they were using pizza boxes to sleep on as beds. There were no extra clothing. The toilets, the tub, they were all covered in disgusting rust, mold, and filth and feces. Also, the children were almost unable to move whatsoever and rendered in a serious state. Okay, now I know y'all like, Storm, what did you just say? Yes, I said it all. And these are pictures of what has been put out of the home. Now I know what everyone is thinking, because I'm thinking the same thing. 15, 13, 12. What is going on that the children never left out of the house? Oh, well, abuse can come out in many different ways. Maybe they were scared. Maybe they had some disabilities. Maybe the malnutrition wasn't allowing them to think past go because it affects their brain. But I was really, really thinking, wow, they never walked out and asked a neighbor or said anything to anyone like everyone else was thinking. Also, a lot of people were thinking, abandoned for 4 years, where are they getting any type of food? Where are they getting any type of, utilities and everything else? Well, the landlord claims that the mother was still paying the bills to the house until October of last year. She was keeping up with everything. So my whole thing with this situation is, let's just say this so we don't have to get ourselves upset. The mother is being held on $250 million bond. She has 3 first-degree charges of child abuse. She has 3 first-degree charges of abandonment. She has also a whole bunch of different kinds of neglect charges. So she won't be getting out anytime soon. Some of these charges can hold up to a life sentence, 20 to 40 years in prison if she's found guilty. Also, when you think about this, they are looking at her social media. During this time, they had her on Facebook Live where she's at clubs, she's partying, she is dressed to the T. They have her making videos of her shopping, buying a new car, buying all these clothes, being in, things such as birthday parties and everything else without her children. So once again, who failed these children? It's always the parents, right? We know that that's the first thing, because they're supposed to protect their children. But then we have to come out and say, What about the family? Once again, these have to be someone's cousins. This has to be someone's daughter, siblings, grandparents. Where are all the people at when they are wondering where the children are? If she's showing up at birthday parties without her children, no one seems to ask what happened to them. They're just gone. Once again, they're not in school. At one point, they were going to school and then they just disappeared. School never got involved. Child Protective Service never got involved. Like, who truly failed the children? It takes a village of community, different things to fail children. And sometimes when you see something, you have to say something. This could have saved a lot of children from a lot of bad things if people would have just said something. One of the most shocking things between these two stories is I cannot believe the mother whose children actually froze and are deceased, that she has not been charged with any type of neglect or anything else. She needs to be charged with something immediately, because at the end of the day, she could have made better decisions and better choices, especially if you can prove that there were places that were open for people below freezing temperatures is going on and there's warming centers opening and you chose to just not go there. There is something really, really wrong with her, and they need to find some charges to put on her quickly. Now, I know this is a lot. This is triggering, but I wanted to get out here and talk about this because awareness needs to be made, and this is disgusting. Now, I can't wait to see what you guys have to say, if you've heard about it, if you've been watching, if you've been keeping up with it, but I will and will continue to talk about it. So I will see you guys in the comments below.